Hey guys, so in this video, I want to talk about the Autoimmune Protocol Diet. So I'm not actually going to explain what that is. Side note, it's kind of basically paleo, but there is some elimination involved and there are some other things involved. But what I want to do here is kind of preempt that and talk about what you really need to watch out for, what you need to know before you start the Autoimmune Protocol Diet so that you are prepared. And the Autoimmune Protocol Diet, or AIP, as you may have heard of it, someone may have suggested it to you. I don't actually, in my practice, follow exactly that because I work with you to sort of customize it and avoid some of these things. But I do want to make a video about what to know before you start. So even if you're going to start it on your own or you're working with somebody else or me, this video is going to sort of explain what to expect. Remember that book, What to Expect When You're Expecting? This is what to expect before you start the Autoimmune Protocol Diet, or AIP, so that you are prepared no matter what autoimmune condition you have, whether it's lupus or psoriatic arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis or Hashimoto's or Sjogren's or any of the one of 80 or more. Many times people have more than one. You need to know these 5 things before you start so you can sort of prepare yourself. So number 1, I like to say, if you feel like you're going to get value or you already have gotten value out of this because you know that you need to know something before you start, please click the like button because I come out with new videos every week talking about autoimmune conditions and helping you guys navigate this whole thing so that you do not have to go on medications like methotrexate or any of those harsh medications. But when I talk about medications, I like to say right here that I am not a doctor. I am Sherry Fogelman. I am a holistic health coach. I am not giving medical advice. So anything that is discussed here is always to be discussed first with your doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. So I am not telling you what to do. This is for conversational and informational purposes only. So please take this information to your doctor though, because that's what I do is give you the information so that you can head to your doctor's office and say, hey, can I do this? Can I do the Autoimmune Protocol Diet, which is basically paleo? And your doctor probably will say yes. So let's dive into the things that you need to know before you start that Autoimmune Protocol Diet. So number 1 is whatever diet you're on, whether you're on the standard American diet, eating lots of fast food, restaurant food, packaged foods, lots of refined sugar, lots of bags, boxes, and barcodes, or you're already think you're eating clean or Whole30 or carnivore or keto, whatever it is, you may feel some detox flu. So number 1 caution is you do need to be prepared for about a week of feeling that detox flu. And what are those symptoms? That's going to be fatigue. That's going to be bloat and bellyache. That might be some diarrhea and constipation. That might be headaches. That might be increased rashes. If you have psoriatic arthritis or something that comes with a rash, if you tend to have acne, you may get a lot more of that in the first week. And let me just tell you, if it's anything to do with the skin, it's not going to go away in a day. It's going to come out because you are detoxing. You might be sweating more. So all of that stuff is going to be increased. Some of your symptoms of your autoimmune, your joint pain, your body is going to be releasing a lot of toxins and you might be feeling worse. In fact, especially if you're coming from the standard American diet, you probably will be feeling worse. And so you don't want to start that obviously before you're heading out to travel, or you've got a big birthday coming up, or you're heading into the holidays, something like that. You want to time it correctly so you've got sort of a 2-week runway, even more. But I'm going to tell you symptoms also that may happen after the 2 weeks as well and what to expect for that. But there's some things you can do about that one. So the first thing is prepare yourself for about a week to 10 days of the detox flu. So number 2 thing to be aware of is that if you are not low carb currently, like if you're not keto or you're not carnivore currently, the low carb paleo aspect of this is going to be a shocker to the system. So that fatigue is going to hang around for a while and you may feel hunger. So hunger and fatigue kind of get confused. Sometimes you're kind of feeling low blood sugar. That is a part of that low carb transition. So the things that you're going to be feeling significantly if you're coming from the standard American diet are that low blood sugar situation. So you want to just be aware of that. That also should not last last more than 2 weeks, but that might bleed into a month or so. And that is just going to be kind of getting used to it, and just know that we're not going to dive into more sugar. And you're going to obviously be feeling that in the afternoon. That's that witching hour. So I would say you're going to have to power through that a little bit. If it's before 2 o'clock, I always recommend a little bit of green tea or matcha. You can sort of get yourself through that, but you may just have to power through, and your body will get used to not having those huge spikes of blood sugar and the drops of blood sugar. And that's what you're feeling with that like intense fatigue or intense hunger, is that blood sugar dysregulation when you go from a high carby, high starchy, diet to the low carb aspect of the autoimmune protocol. One of the things you can do is substitute for starchy vegetables. So rather than go off starchy vegetables completely, you could add in some sweet potato or some carrots, and that will give you a little bit of boost. That's better than, a coffee in the afternoon or sugary snack in the afternoon. Because when we're trying to go anti-inflammatory, the refined sugars really can be a problem. I would stay away from the rices and maybe add in some quinoa to your lunch, and some of the things are on the approved list for that lunchtime hour. But eventually, I recommend, my modification is always to kind of go very, very low carb, 50 carbs or less eventually, but you don't have to do that in the beginning. So that's the number 2 thing to watch out for. Okay, so number 3 thing you want to watch out for is that stomach acid and sort of distension and belly stuff that might be sort of like, oh, this isn't going to work for me. And let me explain that. A lot of us who have autoimmune conditions may have been put on a Pepcid or a Prevacid or something that will lower our stomach acid, because if you're on another type of medication like an anti-inflammatory, you don't want to burn a hole in your stomach. That was one of the things that initially got me many, many years ago to investigate what the heck was going on when the doctor told me that I needed to be on this antacid because I could burn a hole in my stomach, and I had 30 minutes to get to the hospital before I would actually die. So I was like, wait a second, what is going on here? I do not want to be on these medications. So the reason is because when your stomach acid is active, that, by the way, is helping you digest your food and absorb your nutrients. So we need a good amount of stomach acid. We don't want to lower our stomach acid. So either you're on a medication that is intentionally lowering your stomach acid, or you just have lower stomach acid as we age, as we go through perimenopause and menopause, and just as we get older, even for men, your stomach acid, like a lot of other things, are just not going to be on par. And we need a good amount of stomach acid. So check with your doctor for sure on this. And I do help women work with their doctor getting off of those Prevacids and the Pepcids and all that, because we need our stomach acid to be, in tip-top condition in order to absorb our nutrients. It's really, really important. But as you're going on this autoimmune protocol and as you are improving your health, your stomach acid still might be low. So I recommend people be on digestive enzymes and probiotics in combination. And also you can be on hydrochloric acid, which usually comes in the form of a pill to help you digest your food. And those are digestive enzymes. And those are also HCl that sort of helps you break down food, because what's going to happen is, and this could last for 30 days or more, is that you're going to be in an adjustment period. It's kind of all part of that adjustment period of you want to be able to digest your food properly, and you cannot do that basically with low stomach acid. So the HCl supplement will help you digest your food and increase your stomach acid, and you can't be on a Prevacid and HCl at the same time. That'll be sort of competing with each other. So if you have a question about that, if you want to talk to me about that, you can always click the link below and put that in the comments below, because I do want you to work with your doctor on that if you're already on that. But you do want to be aware that you will be struggling with low stomach acid for quite some time. Shouldn't last more than 30 or 60 days. We can get that adjusted so that you can fix that. But just to be aware of that. Okay. Thing to be aware of, number 4, is social situations. I work with all different kinds of chronic conditions that people have, and this is a theme that you want to be aware of, is social situations. You don't want to be afraid right, to be in social situations, but you also don't want to pull back completely from social situations, and you don't want to have it in your mind like, oh, not think about it at all, and then show up to a pizza party and you're like, oh shoot, and so you're going to have a lot of stopping and starting if you don't think about this ahead of time. So I always like to warn people that the social situations sort of needs to be addressed, and there's lots of things you can do. You just need to be aware and do some prep ahead of time so that you aren't showing up to a pizza party or showing up to, someone's house and you have not eaten and you're starving. Certainly not just someone's house, but like an event, a wedding, a christening or something, a bar mitzvah where you are starving and they don't have any of the kind of food you can eat. So you just need to be aware of it. Sometimes I tell people, make sure you eat before you go to any event where you're not in charge of the food. Social situations also, I work with people who have to go out to lunch every day with friends. So that is a social situation. So you want to look at menus ahead of time. You just want to be prepared. If you have any questions about that or you want any more tips on how to prepare yourself. But, normally, if you're starting any kind of diet, I hate to use that word, but anything you're starting, you don't want to just say no to situations. I talk a lot about meeting people for non-food social situations. Take a walk, go exercise. That can also improve your autoimmune condition. So meeting people, if your friends are always meeting for wine every day and you're off alcohol for 30 days, then you want to meet your friends. You don't want to start isolating, of course. So you want to start shifting how you're meeting your friends and also where you're meeting your friends. And you want to be out and honest about it. If you're on an autoimmune healing journey, I always tell people you don't want to hide from that. You want to let everybody know. And usually your friends that are supportive, friends and family that are supportive. And if you don't want to meet for pizza, doesn't mean you can never have pizza again. I don't want to give that impression. But in the beginning, and in the first 90 days, 4 months, 6 months, you definitely want to try to adhere to what you're supposed to be doing. Otherwise, you're wasting your time and money. So you want to let people know that you're on this journey, this autoimmune journey, or whatever you want to call it, and you're healing. And usually people are very supportive of that. And if they're not, that's a whole nother conversation, thought process about why people are not supportive of your healing journey. Because if you had cancer or if you had something else, they certainly would be supportive. So that's what I would say about that is kind of get your head around the social situations or the, business lunches or the business dinners that you have to go on or how you are meeting your friends out there in social situations. So you just want to be aware of it before you start. So that's number 4. Okay, so last thing, number 5, which may or may not apply to everybody, but it's this emotional eating factor. So many of us don't know if we're emotional eaters or not until we try to do something. And some of you out there may just be aware that you're an emotional eater, or you may not be. And when you change the way you're eating, sometimes some of these things come up. So I work with many people who never thought they were emotional eaters, but have a little bit of sweet every day, and that gives them that dopamine hit, and they just don't even think about it, but they don't have a weight problem. That was me, by the way. It didn't turn out that I was an emotional eater, but I was addicted to sugar, and that dopamine hit can be very, very powerful. And there's a huge spectrum of emotional eating, right? But you want to be aware of that may come up for you, and you don't want to get yourself into an eating disorder. Like all of these things may come up for you, the emotional part of it. So that's number 5, is just be aware that the emotional factor of eating may come up for you. Now, it might be that, your family holiday dinners give you a lot of joy. That is totally normal, and food does give us joy. So we want to find that balance where food is still giving you joy, but you're not diving into it to fill a hole or, so you want to make note of that. I always recommend people have a journal and write down, planning out the 3 months and then looking back how you did, and, food prepping and just being prepared in general, and being aware of any emotions that pop up after you're going off of sugar, you're going lower carb. So some of these things might pop up for you and you want to be aware of that. That's it. So those are my 5 tips. If you enjoyed this and you need to, before you even go on Autoimmune Protocol, if you'd like to do a 7-day sugar detox, which I do recommend because that'll kind of get you over the hump of, that detox flu. It'll kind of make you better prepared for that. And you kind of dive right into that 7 days and then you move right into Autoimmune Protocol. I have a special gift for you. If you have made it through this video all this time, you can click the link below and see it says 7-day sugar detox. Click that link. It's totally free. And I highly recommend you do that before you do Autoimmune Protocol. Thanks, guys, and see you next time. Bye.